when somebody sits there and said, "What's the difference?" Well, every golf pro will do two shifts before they swing. They have some kind of movement pattern whether it's rotary or pushing or something, but it's something that goes left right before the club moves away. Okay, because if I was going to throw a ball, the weight goes left right before the arm goes back.
Welcome to the Accelerate Golf podcast, where we explore player improvement and the business of golf through conversations. I'm your host, Bikram Kapoor, and today I have the pleasure of speaking with Roger King, a teaching professional based out of Hendersonville, Tennessee, who runs a very popular coaching program and a very successful YouTube channel with over 1 million views on all the videos he's posted. Welcome, Roger.
Welcome. Thank you very much for having me.
So, Roger, traditionally what we do is we kick it off by having you step through your golf journey. How did you get into golf? And could you just step us through what it took to get to this point?
Ooh, all right. And we just have an hour, huh? No, so it's very interesting is, my father got me involved in it. And he recently passed a couple of years ago, and I owe everything to him because it was right between I think it was either 12 or 13 years old. I think I was 13 years old, and it was the first day of summer, and he calls me up and says, "Hey, there's a golf clinic. I'm coming to pick you up." I remember I'm even in my Pac-Man pajamas. I'm like, what? And he's like, "Get ready." So here comes the truck. Boom, pulls me in. I literally go to this golf course called Ravenwood Country Club, which don't even exist now in Hermitage, Tennessee. And it was just a 9-hole course. I played that course after the clinic. I played it 8 times. The first day I ever played, I walked the golf course 72 holes. I couldn't get enough. Wow. And I, just knew enough from the clinic, and then kind of started immersing myself, where then I started watching, back in the day then, it's 1985. There's no Golf Channel. There's nothing, just some books here and there, but, you start reading every magazine you can and you start getting better. And so that's kind of when the journey started. Right there.
Yeah, I remember all the magazines towards the end, they used to have all the tips and tricks to hit the ball better, to chip better. That used to be such a treat, right?
It was. And, the thing was, is that I would listen to a tip and I would try it, and I wouldn't just try it for like a week. I'd try it for 4 or 5, 6 months, and then eventually go, okay, let's move on to the next thing. And so I kind of played around with it. I was kind of always studying the game, ever since then. So that's the reason why the depth goes back to like even the 1920s, when all the books and everything I've studied to try to figure this whole thing out.
So I know you started off at the clinic, but did you have any formal instruction after that?
Yeah, so I had taught, a couple times. A couple of our Class A pros had worked with me a little bit and helped me a little bit, but I really was self-taught. Like when I say who taught me, I literally say everyone, and I'm still learning because there's still certain things or key phrases, or you're like, oh, I didn't really put that together, and you can add that. It was a full range of studying from like I said, every single thing, everybody, not just from watching golf, but every magazine, every book, every person, that kind of thing. So and it wasn't, fast forward, it wasn't until I really, and this is interesting, is that I really didn't get into the kinesiology side of it until I was a CrossFit affiliate owner. And that's when I started, because you have to teach every modality of fitness. Well, that was Olympic lifting and gymnastics. And when you like lift a barbell, you have to have a certain sequence, and you have to have a certain grip, and anatomically a certain way. And then I was like, well, okay, if you have that, then there's got to be an anatomically perfect way to swing a golf club. And that's kind of when I studied on my own. I didn't go to school for it. I don't have a degree in it. I'm amateur at best kinesiology, but I studied the book and then kind of just put pieces and pieces together. That kind of thing. So I'm kind of fast forwarding in some of the story, but that's where I kind of like the evolution came from.
And did you play high school golf?
Yeah, I played high school golf. When I was the kind of revelation, when I was 15, I shot about 45 on 9 holes. It was just 9-hole little matches. Now it's 18. Then it was 16 years old. I shot 40. And then when I was a junior and senior, I'd shoot 36 and 34. I was under par about by the time I was 18 years old, pretty consistently and stuff like that. So I got a full ride. I shot a 66 out at Henry Horton Golf Course to get full ride books and tuition and everything to Columbia State, which I didn't go to class one day. I had because I just because I just played golf and I knew I was just going to be a golfer, and I was like, school did not interest me whatsoever. I know I could go back. Don't listen to this and go like, okay, that's what I want to do, because it was hard knocks, man. Okay, it was hard knocks. If you got to go back, I would have stayed, would have got a degree. I promise you, I would have done it the opposite way. Okay, I swear. But I had some guys that said, hey, if you want to go play, and I played on the Texas tour for several years, and I had sponsors. And I'd break even. Basically, they borrow some money and then sponsor me, and then just keep putting money in the kitty for a bit until he passed away. And then when he passed away, obviously I lost my sponsor. So then that led me down to club path road. I was club pro and all that. So and then I went from being a club pro to a cruise ship golf pro.
A cruise ship golf pro. Okay, so
Yeah.
is that obviously like an indoor simulator type of thing?
Yeah, so there was a simulator, but that was really the worst gig because you're like down in a little hole. I had the best view on the planet. You can put that however you want to. I was on the very back of the ship where you hit balls into the net. You couldn't hit balls into the ocean because the sea turtles would actually eat the golf ball and the material inside of it. Remember the balata used to have that liquid?
Right.
And
right.
They'd eat that and die. So they figured out that's what it was coming from. And so you'd be like sued millions of dollars. So that did not happen. I promise you. I never, like the Seinfeld episode that you never, that didn't happen. But yeah, I got suntanned and all, you just see a row of people sunbathing. I'll leave it at that. And so I had beautiful ocean views. I had good views, and I taught a lot of golf, and I went out and played golf at every port from all over the world.
Wow.
So I took people to play golf with me wherever he was. So I was an entertainer, I'd help them, and all that kind of stuff. I laughed that one of the AV guys made a video in 5-minute little sequence. He watched my talk. I used to stand in front of people and talk, 2,000-3,000 people in an auditorium about golf every week. And we're at the bar throwing some back, and he goes, I could just tape that one time and you ain't got to do that. I was like, you know how much time and effort you just saved me? So anyway, he videoed it and spliced it up, and every ship I went to, my video went to like day 1. We're going to talk about the grip, day 2, this, day 3, that. And throughout the cruise, I've probably been seen by 100 million people, so, which is because I did that for probably, I think, last 6 years of my career. So that was pretty cool.
Wow.
And I met tons and tons of people. Yep, no doubt.
That sounds really interesting. And so then you kind of stumbled upon the power of making a video and the digital media.
Yeah. So that's the weird thing, I realized how wrong I was. It's so funny in life. When I got off the ship, I got married, and so it kind of became the stay-at-home dad. And then I was like, okay, well, then I kind of went into the CrossFit thing, and so that's kind of how the evolution of that went. But I hated social media. All the bazillion birthdays on Facebook, and everybody's got to say something, and if you don't like somebody or something, they get upset. And of course now I relish it. So it's funny, how we evolve, so to speak. But a friend of mine at the golf course just said, man, you've got to just put one video out And it was the Country Hills website. They had a link that they could put on YouTube. That was just one video. And my first video on my page is like 20 minutes long. And it's an intro. And I don't know if you ever watched some of the first 5 or 6 videos I do, maybe even 10. I even put in there country, because I don't think YouTube. I'm not thinking the world. I'm thinking Country Hills. I put Country Hills Golf Pro, Roger King, get to know me, 20 minutes, my concept. And it wasn't until the very next day where a guy calls me and says, I want a lesson tomorrow, 1:00. And I said, okay. He said, but I live in New Jersey. So I said, okay. He goes, do you do Zoom lessons? And I said, well, let me look into that. And I was like, well, I do now. And so I had no idea. Literally just regular, just right off my phone, Zoom lesson. Started that little by little. I got the 1,000 subscribers, which then you can then make some money off of the Google advertising. Then, over time now I've hired people to do I do the videos. Now they edit it out and put the, little hashtags and the cues and the timing of it and all that stuff that I don't know anything about. And I'm grateful for them. And, and then I went from there, and it's just then I just continue to make content. And, it's really funny is I've made 60 or 70 videos now or something like that. And you would think that it would be, a lot of them would be, they're not the same. And they leave comments and they give me more things they want to see. And I haven't even done a lot of stuff about me on the golf course yet because I haven't had time. I'm doing a lot of these videos at 5:00 in the morning before my shift starts.
Wow.
I mean, the last 2 videos I did were Sunday morning at 4:15, and right when the sun rose up, I did some uphill, downhill, how to hit uphill, downhill, side hill, lie chip shots that people have been asking about. And then 15 minutes later, I'm at the counter, checking people in.
Yeah. So just to get an sense of the timeline.
Yep.
When did you first do your first Zoom lesson? Was that a few years ago?
No, a little over a year ago. It wasn't. So if you go back, I think I started I think this was around December, January when I started, and I think it was February.
So that was early part of 2024, I guess.
Yes. It's been barely over a year that I've been doing this now. Like a year and a couple months or something. So, which has been just a whirlwind. And I'll be honest, man, the wintertime is usually, you're like a squirrel trying to get all your nuts together, in the wintertime, you're just trying to survive as a golf pro in Nashville. I promise you, after Thanksgiving, nobody wants golf lessons. It's Thanksgiving, it's Christmas, it's New Year's, it's new me, New Year, new you, Valentine's. And then the master comes on and goes, okay, let's golf.
Right.
So you make as much money as you can. Well, I've done so much business over the winter, which wasn't even the busy time, because you're teaching people worldwide. You're reaching people all over. So it's sunny in, California, Florida, or, Spain or wherever, it's not wintertime, right? So
Yeah.
that's the fun part, So I'm so curious to see how many more this is gonna play out, and what's gonna bring, and who I'm gonna meet, and all of that. So
Yeah, and that's a point which I think we need to highlight, is that many golf pros are still in that paradigm of being in a physical location, tethered to a certain club, waiting on members or people to kind of walk in and take a lesson or
Yep.
ask for a lesson. And that naturally limits the upside, because you can only teach so many people, physically one-on-one in a location. But now, by going global, you've gone from maybe being exposed to 5,000 golfers to maybe 30, 40 million people.
And that's staggering, because the views I get and the comments, I get comments all the time, which I love, because only a few are the negative. You're not ever going to make everybody happy, okay? And
Right.
And the people that are like know-it-alls, they don't need me anyway, right? So, but there are so many success stories of people that I've helped that I'll never meet, that I never knew they were even watching my videos, and they'll then send me some heartfelt, warm video that, hey, there's one that was in Montana or something. He was teaching his son who has MS, and he watches just my videos, and he was showing me his whole setup and how he teaches them just from what I'm teaching. I mean, that makes your heart go, what? Like you have no idea how many people that you're reaching. And that I don't, and of course you're like, well, you don't make any money. I was like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm making money off of the advertising. I'm making money from the Zooms, and then the membership site, which is probably that's the one that I really want it to grow even more, is because those are the ones that they can send me their video. I can do a little voiceover, and then I make a personal little 3 or 4 minute video for them about what I see that they're doing and what they need to do. And I can do that a couple times a week. And it doesn't take much time out of my day, but I'm individually teaching them, and I see them weekly, and I don't want them to be members for a long time either. I want them to be a member for maybe 3, 4, maybe 5 months at the most. And then I fixed you and move on, right? You don't need me anymore. Tell people about me, and there's too many golfers, right? So that's a whole nother thing that is non-traditional. Membership videos are non-traditional, right?
Right.
Because the days of you just hanging out by the counter waiting for, oh, I got 2 lessons today, I get to eat, I mean,
Right. So tell us more about the membership.
Yeah, because golf pros don't know. I mean, if you're not a golf pro, you don't realize we don't make crap. I mean, 30,000 is an average assistant golf pro, and then and if I'm very fortunate, and I'll put his name on. Brad Shirley is a great golf pro, been around for a long time. He was actually, and it's a funny story. Again, you talk about full transparency. I was 16 years old, and I was just a little shit. I mean, honestly, I got fired at the golf course being a cart guy. Now me managing golf cart guys, I know how bad that is. So, okay. So he hired me when I'm 16, and then I'm at Edwin. Fast forward, I'm at Edwin Watts for about a year or so, transitioning through from CrossFit, divorce, and then at the golf shop, and then he had a golf pro leave and offered me a job to come in and teach and all that, and so he hires me. He's probably my first guy. He's going to be probably my last guy that hires me as a job, which I think is so funny. And he was like, he said, if people don't change, he said, just watch where you were when you were 16 and watch where you are now. He said,
Yeah.
So it's pretty, and I won't have to go in. I'm not going to the story about why I got fired because it wasn't smart. But anyway, it was just being what dumb kids do. And now I look at kids and I just go, hey, I know you're just a dumb kid too at the time, right? So it's like, it takes a while for people to do and all that. But my point of it is, golf pros make 30,000, and then I make 100% of my golf lessons because, that he wouldn't, and he stood up when people at the golf course wanted to, hey, let's get a percentage and all that. But private country clubs, which this isn't, they take money for the lessons. They take percentages. And and you don't make all of that $75 or $100 that you're making. You make 30, right, and something like that. So you're not making a lot. So when you're able to work for yourself and you can charge what you want, and I've been blessed that he knows that he loves to see me succeed, and he's all for me doing Zooms. I do them sometimes in the back of the banquet room and stuff like that right after work, and so and I'm blessed for that. So and you said something about membership. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to figure out what all do you offer, and this is for our audience as well. So you have the YouTube channel, which is free to watch because I'm a subscriber and I really love your content. And then you offer one-on-one, the traditional one-on-one in-person lesson.
Yes.
You also offer a membership program.
Yep.
In the membership program, I could be anywhere in the world.
Yes.
And I can send you videos and you will personalize advice for me, coaching advice, with some drills, and you'll send it back to me.
Yes.
And in the membership program, is there a limit to the number of videos I can send you?
So there's not really per se a limit. I would say I tell people about, hey, a couple of weeks, because what I don't want you to do is okay, let me send you a video. What about now? What about now? What about now? What about? When I give you the little video of the 2 or 3 minutes, I want you to do the drill and I want you to really work on it. Now, doesn't mean that that drill is going to resonate with you, right? And show me a video of you doing the drill if you're struggling a little bit, then okay, well, hey, let's change our approach. And I even tell people that, like, you might hear me say several different things until I see you move in the way that optimally that I think that you can and that you should. And that goes along with the background of kinesiology and the physics background. And my gift is just seeing a golf swing and knowing how the joints are supposed to move, etc. Right. So, and I see them not doing it right, then I'm like, okay, then I'll chat with them, because there's a little chat option, right? They can either vent to me that they're not doing it right, or they can sing my praises, whatever, or vice versa. And then and I'll send them another video and all that. And I do about a couple of weeks, right?
Okay.
So I want them to play around with it and take a little bit of time. You can't just immediately, just because if it feels good to you immediately, then you're probably doing a lot of what you like to do, right? Change is going to feel change. It's going to feel different. So it takes a little bit to integrate. There's a lovely saying that from Mike Austin, and he said that basically changing a golf swing is like dealing with nerves, and nerves are like changing wild animals. And so, because your brain sends the myelin, the signal, to the nerves, which moves the muscle, and you have to coordinate the movement.
Wow.
So if you're always used to a muscle movement pattern, you have to change that. So if I had a record, say for instance, playing, it always plays the same. Well, what I want to do is I'm going to take that record and I'm going to scratch it. I don't never want it to play the same, because that's like your default golf swing. Like, it plays the same. And I need to now have it where you have a new record that plays just the same, but now with the correct movement pattern. So that takes a little bit of time, and also takes a little bit of the psychology part of it. Yeah.
So if one of our listeners wants to reach out to you, what is the best way for someone to do that?
Yeah, just go to the website, rkswingking.com, and they can then look at some of the videos if they haven't been on YouTube there. They can sign up for the membership. They can do the Zooms. They can do the one-on-one in Hendersonville. Also, if you look back behind me, this is my place here in Green Hills, Tennessee, which is closer to downtown. And you'd be surprised how many people either fly or drive in and spend, a day with me or a couple of days with me, just even back here, just working on and changing the motion. So, because people want to get better, at this game, and the majority of my people are going to be about 60 or so. They're just about retired, or they just retired. Golf is their passion, and they can't play the way they used to, and they're willing to put whatever latest greatest. They realize the driver that's $600-700 isn't really helping them. They've already got that. So now I'm really trying to get better at this game. And I think that the way that I teach, I try to get the body to move optimally for how that person is built. And I think that's the difference. And I hate my worst lesson, or my least favorite lessons, are paint by numbers. I need you in. I'm a big non-believer of the P1, 2, 3, 4. I don't even really know them, because the golf swing is motion, and I think that you can have a pretty position and not have any motion. And so I feel like that when if people also, your body doesn't and your brain doesn't understand the word how to do something, because like, say, if I say, I want you to swing your hands over your shoulder. Now, did I tell you how? No. Right? Now, because I don't ever want to say, okay, I want you to move your elbow back to your right hip. I want you to take your thumb to your ear. You know what I mean? Like, to me, that's body part analysis and movement. And so that's why I teach more in images, parables, stories, things like that. And also mimic motion. 87% of the learning is visual.
Okay.
So that's a huge thing. I think that people, when they read books, that's really only about, I think, 4% is acknowledged in that. So the brain and analytical and writings is a very, very little amount.
And now, folks, I wanted to mention that this show is brought to you by Q School Sports, a technology company that offers thoughtfully designed point of sale, bookings, payments, omni-channel retail, and customer management software that accelerates your business growth. Visit qschoolsports.com for more information. Thank you. Just off the bat, I think for our listeners, I will have links to Roger's website in the description of our podcast. So rkswingking.com. And then secondly, Roger, you said your clientele, average age is about 60.
Yes.
There's an interesting thought which comes to mind. When you're young and a golfer, you can get away with a lot of bad body sequencing just from sheer athleticism, right? You're athletic, you have some speed, some strength, and you can overcome bad mechanics that way.
Yes.
Now, as you get older, these bad mechanics get exposed because you no longer have that speed. You're not as athletic or flexible as you used to be.
That's right.
We'll dig deeper into the right body mechanics.
Yes.
But in my mind, there's a lesson for young golfers here that if you have the right mechanics and you're not compensating for bad mechanics through your athleticism, you could be such a better golfer through good mechanics and having that youth and speed and athleticism at that stage. And then it bodes well for when you age as a golfer, because then you are still relying on good mechanics. You're still making good contact. You probably still have some decent swing speed.
Yes.
As opposed to, I would say people like me, who had bad mechanics, and now I'm trying to figure out how to retain speed. And the only way to retain speed now is to change my mechanics, which is now harder because I've played golf for 30 years with bad mechanics.
There you have it. Yes, that's right.
So now let's paint the picture of your stereotypical customer, your client.
Yes.
So what is the first thing, you are looking at when someone age 55, 60 comes to you? What's their number one complaint?
Okay, so the number one complaint for sure is, and you would think it's, I need more distance, but instinctively everyone says consistency. I would like to consistently hit the ball, even if it's just 200 yards for the senior golfer, right? And just not duck hook it or top it or embarrass myself, or, and a lot of it's peer pressure. A lot of people don't want to play bad in front of other people. And I have the saying that's not, hey, don't worry about it. Everybody sucks. Okay. Otherwise you'd be on tour, right? There's certain levels, right? There's just certain levels because and when I'm at the golf course, people come in and I say the same thing. I'm like, hey, just don't worry about it. As long as you keep up pace of play, but consistency for sure. And I think the number one issue is how people place their hands on the golf club. And then the other one is that everybody thinks that the middle of the body or the hip turn hits the golf ball, and that's not true. So there's been studies done now that the LPGA has the fastest hips, and they have the slowest club head speed.
Wow. So in terms of that number one thing, which is the placement of hands.
Yes.
How does a golfer know what is the right way to do that?
Well, besides watching my video on grip that I talk about in detail, but I'll stand up a little bit for this one to show you. So it's just how your hands hang, like so. And these technical terms are called little scaphoids. These are little bitty pockets right here on top that your hands do this in the golf swing. And so that makes the elbows move correctly. Now, when you grip correctly, and I just close my fingers, you'll see that I didn't change anything. And then I bring them in front of me, and there's the correct golf grip. Okay. Whereas if I do this, and anybody wants to play along with me, they can. But if I turn my hands like this and hold them, well, how did I hold? I'm holding them there with muscle. I'm holding them there with tension. Because if I have no tension, I'd be here. Right. So you want to have no tension in the arm hanging. Now, so this goes together. I think the average person locks this joint right here because they've been told to keep it straight, which is not accurate at all. And they then move the club, and the club has to have one right here. They have the club has to be in line with the arm and the shaft, which is not true either. Because from here, the wrist bone now will work more in this fashion. And if you that the golf club won't really advance. So you can see the shaft here, it kind of moves back about that far and that far. Now, this is just so your arm is here and your forearm's here. So I'll move the chair back a little bit. So this is a wonderful demonstration of just the correct left hand and how this can completely screw up. If you put it here and just do this, you'll see that I can only advance it about this far, right? Nothing else moved, and about that far. Okay. And the club face is going hooded, back, and under. So nobody would ever want to teach that motion. You wouldn't hit it very far. Okay. When you have your left hand correct, and I'll just kind of do it for your viewers here. So it's going to be in the second phalanx right here, or second joint of your pointer finger. And it's going to lay right across the line of your pinky like this. And by the way, I don't have no idea what palm readers look at, because every palm I look at looks the freaking same to me. Like I have this little line. Everybody has this little line. I've never seen any differences. So anywho, we'll go with that. So you put it at the pinky here. So if I put my thumb, now watch, I'm just going to take my hand, put my hand here, take my hand off. Okay, I'm just going to relax it. And you tell me if it looks any different. No. So now I'm going to grab my arm, and now look what my golf club does. So you'll see that it goes over 90 degrees both ways.
Right. And it looks to be completely in plane, looks beautiful.
Okay. So if I put this club now in front, now my wrist will not work the same. The only way, if I lean this shaft forward and straighten this arm, the only way that I can get it there is to rotate my hand manually, which makes my forearm and my arm come away from my chest. That's the only way to get my hand in that same position. So therefore, if you lean forward, your club is going to be behind you. So, and this is where I even said it in one of my last ones, was Phil Mickelson was dead wrong. He talked about putting the thing out here in front. Well, what he learned to do from here was take it back wide and then change his golf swing and get back into this position, because he can, because he's a golf pro. You're not a golf pro. Don't follow golf pros. They can do all kinds of weird things, but get back into this delivery position here and then hit to square the club face up. I get someone else like this or like this. They have no body mechanics whatsoever. See, I'm right here. Now my weight's on my left. My wrist is correct, right? Because I'm a golf pro. I'm annoying. I can hit all kinds of different shots that way. I can put the golf club up here. You can see how I'm across the line, horrible, Matthew Wolf, etc. But I can do this, and I'm back in plane. Everybody else does this, is going to be lost and confused in space because they've never trained themselves to be in a delivery position. I digress. So the left hand does that, and then the right hand is going to be in the second phalanx, or all second joints. The pinky lays right on top here, and that's not in the groove, because when you put it in the groove, that raises the wrist bone. See, these are all just little bitty things that changes it. And now I have a golf swing with just my hands correctly. And this is what I talk about with seniors. This is a lot of club head speed here. And if I do it, I'm not even going to move my body hardly at all. And you can hear that speed is much faster than people turning their body and blocking the club. So when you're younger, you can get away with it some. But honestly, even people that I teach that are younger, that do that correctly, you teach them that, and all of a sudden, they're hitting it further with less effort.
Yeah, and for our listeners, one more time, Roger just went over stuff which was on video, and you can follow the podcast on our YouTube channel as well. We will have clips on our Instagram channel as well. So all this content is available. If you're listening on an audio-only podcast, please click on the link to the YouTube channel to watch everything which Roger is talking about.
Yeah,
so Roger,
go ahead. Yeah. And I don't even, the funny thing is too, is I don't, they're like, okay, when I get a lesson from them, now tell me the real deal. Like, I'm giving you the real deal for free on the site,
Many of your videos go in depth on this motion of the hands, which you just talked about. And, one of your points is that you don't have to jump around, with the lower body to generate speed. There's a lot of speed coming from the right setup of the hands itself.
Yes, yes, yes. So if I just swing my hands and arms like that, the body supports. Now, and this is on one of the videos, but this is super, super simple, and anybody can do it. So if all you did, you're standing straight up, and let's say I'm just going to bend my left knee, okay, which makes my right leg straighten. So my pelvis goes outside my foot, and I can pick my foot up. That's weight transfer. That's 1,000% weight transfer. So I transfer my weight, and then my arms and body can swing over that. And so the downswing would be the same thing. I just bend my right knee, and now there's all my weight on my left. So most people, what they do is opposite. They turn their body, look like a dinosaur. And so when I do this, my arms are going to be behind me. And watch, I want to pick up this foot. That's what the reverse pelvis hip shift is. And so now to hit the golf ball, they're going to take all their effort and energy to come over the top, which puts the weight over their right foot, and tries to hit the golf ball, and then pick up that foot. That's the average person, what I see. And if all they did was roll their foot to put pressure here and here, then their weight, and if you see that's just basically a walking motion, right? That puts the weight in the right, and then that puts the weight on the left, and you wouldn't have to really worry about too much more.
So one of the things which is very confusing
mm-hmm.
is we hear a lot about this ground force, vertical force.
Yeah.
You know, people talk about how Justin Thomas jumps up in his driver's swing.
He does.
And that really confuses me. And I've been playing golf for a long time, and I'm trying to make this mental model of how to swing faster. But what you're saying is you don't have to do all that jazz. It's a very simple.
Justin Thomas is slow to me. I swing 140. I can swing 140 miles an hour. He in his wildest dreams he can't do it. So why is that? Well, not just because I'm 6'3", 210, and he's a runt of a man compared, right? And nor am I saying anything bad about him, because I think he's a world-class player and he's on the PGA Tour, and I could not hold his jock, but he can't hold mine on speed. So why? Because my body's trying to move optimally in a circle. So when I make the walking motion, my head stays level. So and it brings up an interesting point, is that when you go down up, you no longer have a circle in your arms. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Okay. So I'll just kind of walk through it slowly. So first movement is just a right ankle and pushing the foot down a little bit, because before you walk, by the way, you have to, if I'm going to walk and I'm going to pick up my right foot, I have to put all the pressure on my left. Agreed?
Yep.
Well, that's all I'm doing in the golf swing. Watch. I put pressure over on my left, which then my left then pushes right. Then as that happens, then my arm goes away. And as my arm is going away, now, so what is that? What is this? This is horizontal. Okay,
Right.
that's first force. Now the swing circle center, 7th cervical of your spine, that's your head. So the chin rotates with the xiphoid, but that, which is the middle of your chest, okay, for non-bodybuilders, sorry. So that and that. So this does this, but that doesn't mean that the back of my neck is changing, okay? So the golf swing's like a hub on a wheel that way. So your arm radius stays the same because it's connected to your torso, and your torso only moves through your feet. So if I move my left foot, now watch, I'm going to go right foot. You can see how my arms are hanging like they're supposed to. And then my left foot rolls. Can you see the pressure move to the right?
Yep.
Then my arms go. So I'm already from right here, my right foot is already pushing my weight back to the left. Now, when that happens, right here, what is that? Both knees are parallel to each other. This is torque. Okay? So when I create torque from here, that means that this is bent, right? Then this leg is straightening. So now that's vertical, because torque creates vertical. And I have all three ground forces that you talk about. And then my hands release because my body stalls because can't go any further.
Right.
So I'm creating a whip of centrifugal force, not pulling, not pushing, right? And if you watch my head, and people can put it right on video if they want, you'll see that my chin rotated, but the back of my neck is right there. There's the torque. Did my head go back or down? No.
Nope.
No. There's that. So now I have a circle. And so the faster and the stronger, people ask me about core, the stronger that your core is, the stronger that your forearms are, legs, etc. You're just a bigger human being, stronger human being, then you can maybe walk a little faster. Now, if I walk too fast, I'll outrace my arms. So you have to have a rhythm. You think you can go fast, but you can't, because you have to add the other joints. Well, the other joint is the hand, wrist, and forearm doing this motion. Remember, so very beginning part of the lesson, I said this moves. Well, now all I'm doing is setting a support post. So when my feet roll, I'm setting a support post for the golf club to swing over. And at the same time, from right here, there goes my weight here. Now, it's equal amount. So if I want more vertical and not to be quite as accurate, the only difference that I would do is when I pushed more into the ground this way, the ground would then push me more this way. Now, when that happens, the head will have a tendency to move. The swing will have a tendency to be not as circular, a little more elliptical-ish, and you'll go up like a Bryson DeChambeau, which how can you complain about Bryson DeChambeau going up? Because he goes more vertical. So when he goes vertical with his head, this knee goes up here. So now the ground is pushing me back, but it's going to push me more down. So I'll have more torque, more vertical, and my lag is way back here compared and releasing. So what I'm talking about with swinging like you walk is not maximal as compared, because if that was the case, every single long drive golf pro would look more like a Sam Snead, which is what this is kind of based off of, which, by the way, Mike Austin saw Sam Snead and based his kinesiology and his golf swing off of Sam Snead. A lot of people don't know that. So this all goes to it. There's not, we're all copycats, right? It's like if somebody said they came up with a drill. No, you didn't. No, you did not, right? I had one guy said that it was his step drill. I mean, I saw Jim Flick do the step drill in 1985. I mean, it's not, I'm just saying, we all regurgitate. Like, there's nothing new under the sun. And now when they did say, like dragging a chain back and through, did their feet and their weight move correctly? Yes. But did they even think about ground pressure? No. They did. You think they talked about abduction or extension of the left wrist? No. Right. Back in the early 1900s. Right. They didn't do that. But we now have become so educated that we got to give it terminology to it. But all this is a walking motion. So a walking motion is very fast. I can, like I said, anywhere between 130 to 140. If I want to go faster, I will push down and push up and push down and create more torque and more whip. But now, am I going to be as accurate? Really can't be, because a circle is the most accurate.
Right.
And if you're one of my listeners and you're 60, 65 years old, this is pretty easy to do. And you can hit it about 240, 250 with the driver speed. And you can see that I don't look like I'm doing a thing. But if you put me on the monitor, that's going to be over 100 miles an hour easy. So the speed comes from the right foot re-rolling here and the hands and arms here whipping through. But you don't actually hit, because when you hit with muscle, you actually slow down. So that's the beauty of it. Does that make sense about ground force? Because so what Justin does is he goes more down, and he's way more vertical up here, and he goes vertical because his heel goes up. So if your heel goes up, what goes up must come down. So if it goes down, then it's got to go back up.
Right.
And guess what? He also struggled for how many years? Why did he struggle? Well, because you have to time all that up and down.
Yeah. So when you're out of sync, it's going to be a disaster.
Right. Who's more consistent, Sam Snead or Justin Thomas? Who hit the ball further, Justin Thomas or Sam Snead? Is there really there's really not any conversation in this, right? It really isn't. So anybody who goes up and down is going to be super inconsistent, but they can hit the ball further possibly, right? Like long drive guys.
Right.
But I'd rather. But now hold on. I would much rather see people create force, because there's force before motion, than the amateur is dead still. That's the. And not to. I know I'm trying to stand up here back and forth, but this is what I live for. But like when somebody sits there and said, "What's the difference?" Well, every golf pro will do 2 shifts before they swing. they have some kind of movement pattern that whether it's rotary or pushing or something, but it's something that goes left, right before the club moves away. Okay. Because if I was going to throw a ball, the weight goes left, right before the arm goes back. Okay. So top amateurs just shift right. I don't know if you've ever seen that before. So they'll kind of, the club is here and they've got to move the weight. And so they'll shift this way. And the better player mistake is now going to then, so whatever you do this way, you're going to do this way. So when I shift here, you're now going to have to really drive your right leg harder. Now your golf club's behind you. And how many really good players time that slip, draw, straight ball, little pull, little
Right.
push, right? And they're your club pro. They're your not club. Well, club pros too. Club pros are not tour pros. They would probably do some of that. And your low handicap, 5 or less, does that, right? And then your amateur, your 10, 12, 15 handicap is just dead. They literally don't move a thing, and they just have been told to stay perfectly still.
Right.
And then they've been told, well, I've got to turn. So
Right.
if I was going to say anybody, they just do this. This is the average person I see damn near every time. Okay. And then with the grip being all weird, then they could kind of twist their hands all kinds of different ways. So I get them first to, if there's a hierarchy of it, I get them to feel their hands moving correctly first, if I can. Then I get them to feel what their body feels like. And then I kind of sync it together, whether it is swinging like you walk or a bucket of water going from side to side. And people think that's different, but it's really not. It's just how your brain sees it. If I got somebody doing this, then I'm not going to say, let's work on your hands.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, hey, we need to work on your body. Like I've given, if you were behind me doing, like I did 5 Zooms one time, and I kind of chuckled to myself. If somebody was behind me watching me, they would be like, you just had 5 different golf lessons, because
Right.
they all do different things. So I hope that's, it should be simple. Like if I was going to put the model of the compound pivot and how your hands hang, and passive hands and arms, and active feet is to me the model. Like that's the one that you don't have to think about too much, and that's the one that's been the most successful. I think the other one, like how Manu De La Torre teaches Ernest Jones, like a weight on a string and swing the club over the shoulders, pretty simple. Harvey Penick, when I worked with him back in the day before the Texas tour, the little bucket of water, the sheath, the sickle thing, that works really well for people. So, I mean, there's all kinds of, and again, you learn from everybody.
Right.
And then there's some people that don't have that at all, and they're very, very mechanical, and they have to feel like, their thumbs point to the sky. I never know.
I feel what you said about fix the hands first, or at least get the hand motion correct first. Then you think about your body, the way it's moving, and then you link it together into that rhythmic walking motion with the weight back and forth. And from that point on, a good golfer is going to be pretty consistent because he's not going up and down,
That's it.
And he's getting more speed because his body sequencing is right.
It's right.
Now, if you want
Now,
to
if you want to
spice it up a little
up a
bit
little bit,
and you're
and
willing
you're
to
willing to
trade off
trade off
accuracy with speed,
Yes.
then you might want to
might
add a little
add-
more up and down. If
That's
I'm
right.
understanding you correctly.
That's 100%, 100%. And the other part of it is that so there's only 2 places that the golf swing can go wrong. Is the very first thing is at the beginning, you have inertia that you have to break up. So that's why you have to go left, right, because then that's also what makes the ground pressure move correctly in the correct sequence, kinematic sequence, right? So when you do that, then you go to the top. Well, as you're going to the top, your weight's already going this way. Well, if I go, even though I'm doing it correct, and even though my weight's going back left, like halfway back, and the arms are still going, and the 3 hardest words for golfers are leave it alone. I got that from Manu De La Torre, and I think it's correct. When you get here to the top and somebody goes, all right, I'm going to put pressure on the shaft and try to hit it harder. So then that screws everything up too. So I think the 2 positions are the beginning and at the top is where people, try to. And if you've turned your body and you didn't do the little shift move before you take the club away and you just are dead and you turn, then you have to, you're dead to the world. You've got to figure out something. So that's why the fastest speed is here, and that's why you release the club. I will say this: there is no, and this is really cool, there is no such thing as over the top if if you're up here, you can release your hands as hard as you want, as long as your weight is shifting left. I'm letting this go. Whereas if the weight is going the opposite way, that is what makes you come / over the top and release the club. It is
Right.
not. It is not pulling the club down. See, if I get up here to the top, and so many people have this thought process, if you pull your arms down, see, I didn't move my weight any. That doesn't move your weight.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So you, even if I shift and pull, I'm never going to, how am I going to square the club face up? Right. So I'm releasing my hand and my arm up here as you can see it, as I'm rolling my foot. You can even see how my hand is just responding, and I'm in this position to now release on time. It's like if you threw a ball and you shifted and then tried to move your arm. No, your arm, you're throwing your hand and your arm from back here while you're shifting and throwing. It's the same.
Got it.
It's the same. I think too many people, and that comes down to freedom, and that's club head speed as well. Because people want to hold on to it. I think type A's are probably some of the worst golfers in the beginning. Type A personalities, because because you have to give up all control to gain control. And type A personalities, they don't, like my ex-wife, they don't want to give up control.
So you said, as we're coming up to time, I just wanted to cover one more thing. You said,
sure.
Your swing speed is about 140 miles per hour, which is phenomenal.
Thank you. That's max speed. That's max. My playing is around 120, 125.
Now that's with the driver. Now, do you change anything when you are hitting an iron? Like most people, and I'm talking from personal experience, we have trouble hitting the 5-iron, the 4-iron, the 3-iron, the hybrid correctly.
Yep.
And I feel the driver is the simplest club to hit because, the ball is sitting on a perfect lie. You can adjust the lie whichever way you want. You can get away with a lot of bad things in your swing, just given that the ball is in such a beautiful lie with the driver.
Yep.
But when you come to like the long iron,
what
is your advice to people like me who struggle with that?
Well, I think what happens is the number one thing is people move the ball position where they shouldn't. Okay. So the club is always in the middle of the body. Let's say I have a 7-iron and a driver here. Okay. Can you see pretty close? Put one ball out. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So, and it comes with pressure, shift, and intention. Okay. So a little bit of a detailed question answer here. So the golf club is always in the middle of the body. See where it's at my zipper?
Yep.
And my stance width is going to be always about the same for a driver as it is a wedge, as it is a 7-iron, as it is a 3-iron. Now that goes against contrary belief, but when you're making the walking motion in the compound pivot, can you see how my weight shifts from right to left pretty fully? And that's about my full length. Now, if I go wider than that, can you see how I'm restricted, how I can't get my weight easy? See how my legs are really restricted? So I can't shift fully and keep my head on center. See how my head's moving all over the place?
Yep.
I'm standing too wide. So if I'm going to make a full swing, my driver's right about here. Okay. So when I do that and I make the shift, I'm going to turn the choke down a little bit. Don't hit my TV. All right. As I swing through, as my right foot, you can see how my foot plants, right foot goes. I'm going to be hitting squared up on it, and there's more pressure on my right foot because the intention is to hit up a little bit. Okay. If I want to hit level, then I'm going to be more here. Now, what's the difference in that? My brain is saying that I want my arm, because wherever your arm goes is where the ball goes. So when I'm making the swinging like you walk motion and I'm walking, my arm is whipping, and that's the place that I want my driver to go. Now, if I'm hitting a 7-iron, and this will be interesting to see, that you'll see that it is in the exact same place. Why? Because this is the only place that you can make a circle with the hands. We talked about that in the beginning. If I put it out here in front and I put the ball position here, I can't make a circle. So this is the reason why this is always dead wrong and you're tilted. You can see how I cannot make a compound pivot and my wrist can't move. So you're dead. So people hit a wedge, the tendency is to put it back in their stance a little bit. They'll hit that a little bit better. And then they start going with a 3-iron and a driver, and they start putting it up in their stance. So you changed everything. See? So intention is the number one thing. So if I was going to hit a 7-iron and make this, now you're going to see something pretty cool. When I shift over, can you see how I have more pressure on my left?
Right. Yep.
Okay. Well, that's a 7-iron. So I'm going to hit level or slightly down. Right? A wedge would be even more left. So why? Because as I'm shifting, my arm is going to be more down here when I finish. So if I'm hitting a driver, I'm more back. See? So I'm more back. My right foot's still rolling. My pressure is left, but there's more pressure, and the shift happened left, but there's more pressure on my toe because my brain is thinking like throw my arm up. And with a wedge, it'll be more like throw it level or down. Totally different. So not to blow your noodle here, and in golf pros, and you probably will see this on my videos, but I have, so there's one shift here, 2 shifts here, club moves away, 3, can you see how there's pressure already here?
Yep.
Okay. Then from here is that pushes back 4. I have 4 right here with a driver. Okay. And then 5 with an iron. But you don't have to think about, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Holy crap, right? You're just give it the intention of where your arm. So if I'm coming here, you'll see my arms coming down the line. If I'm hitting a wedge, like a sand wedge or so, again, you can see, is my hands in the same place?
Yep.
Okay. So same width and everything else. Now, as I'm swinging through, now you'll see even more, right? Look at my right knee and foot here. Now my driver would be like that. See? So total different positions by pressure. I hope that helps because a lot of people move that ball position, and when you move the ball position, you're starting to move your spine angle, and you're going to change a whole bunch of different stuff, and then you can't move correctly. So that's the number one reason. Every single person needs to put the club in the middle of their body every time. Now, if I'm only hitting a half shot, I'll stand more narrow, but the club's still in the middle of the body. See?
Yeah.
Like so.
So a lot of traditional golf instruction, advises the golfer to move the ball position.
Yes.
And we've got to unlearn that.
It couldn't be more wrong. See, but I just said it because of a circle, right? Because of all the things that happen. Yes, that's 1,000%. When you change your ball position, where the club's not in the center of your body, then you're not making a circle. So if you lean that forward, there's no way that you can do that. You're going to be off the ball this way, right? And your wrist bone's not going to work correctly, and you changed it. But your wedge is okay because you're starting to do this and hit down on it, but then you take, your iron. That's why some people hit their wedges better than their driver, and some people hit their driver better than their wedge. The two don't mix, right?
Correct.
So that's why you have to do that.
Well, but I wanted to thank you for your time. And as we leave you, I just want to remind the listeners that we will have links to Roger's homepage, his YouTube channel, and we will have clips of this conversation on our YouTube channel as well. Please reach out to Roger if you like what he has to say. I really did, and I feel he brings a very fresh perspective to golf instruction. So hopefully, at the very least, you can click on his YouTube channel and check out his videos. Thank you once again, Roger. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thanks, man. It was wonderful. Wonderful hanging out with you for an hour. All right. Take care.
Take care. And that, folks, is a wrap for today. Thank you for listening.
In audio.